Excellent, so a new lesson. This time, as already mentioned, probably in a previous video, we're going to focus on the right hand and in terms of fingerstyle technique. And a lot of the things that we'll talk about in this video are actually borrowed from classical guitar playing. I see a lot of times quite sketchy, as far as I'm concerned, technique, especially for beginners, where sometimes they just anchor themselves, they hold the guitar up, which is not great. The guitar should stay up, especially if you have a strap, obviously that's much easier. I don't have one now, but you shouldn't struggle to hold the guitar up. You should just stay up by holding it up with this part of your right arm. So you shouldn't involve the right hand itself shouldn't be involved in holding up the guitar or finding an anchor point or anything like that. So the way, let me actually zoom in a bit so you will be able to see from up close the right hand in action. Okay, so the idea is quite simple actually. The technique is really simple. So first and foremost, your wrist should be really relaxed and should be straight, not bent outwards like that, or even worse, holding the guitar up. Everything actually, your posture, your right hand posture starts from your shoulder. The shoulder should be relaxed, your elbow should be relaxed, and you should basically try and find a way to have your hand almost like it was like dead weight, so to speak. And when you're playing an arpeggio, let's just make an example. Basically, the idea is the motion that your single fingers do is the same as when you're walking, so to speak. When actually, if you were to hold your hand the other way, it's like when you're asking for somebody to come closer. It's exactly the same thing. Or come here. It's exactly the same thing, but obviously you're doing it with your hand facing the other way. And you're almost catching the string on the fly without preparing it, because obviously if you prepare your finger, if you try and find the string and then pull it, you will be stopping the sound. That's not good, because I want all the notes to ring throughout and ring one to the other. So when you're doing this, naturally your hand should be slightly, the natural way that your hand falls is where the left side of your fingers hits the strings. So you shouldn't actually pull up the strings flat like this. That's not a natural way. The way that your hand falls naturally is that you will be plucking the strings with this section of your fingers. So the one that is on the left side of each finger, so to speak. Obviously slightly different for your thumb, because obviously the thumb will be doing a downward motion, and you will be not plucking the string flat like this, but again with the left side of your and obviously the fleshy side. A lot of guitars, like that are into classical guitar, tend to grow fingernails and to have a sharper sound, so to speak. But then that's up to you. I have very, very short fingernails, and I prefer a warmer tone, so to speak. But and then obviously you can arpeggiate if you want something a bit sharper with a pick, or you can use thumb picks. But then again, let's just see this. So each finger does exactly the same motions, and in general, let's say that the thumb will pick the bass note, which is usually contained in the bottom three strings, the 6th, 5th and 4th string, and the top three fingers will, the index, middle finger and ring finger will pluck the top three strings in terms of obviously tone. So the 1st, 2nd and 3rd string in terms of pitch. So if you want to have a couple of exercises, if you want to use a couple of exercises that I can suggest, is just play a simple chord. Let's say I will have C major here on my, you cannot see it's out of the shot, but I'm just playing a C major, and all you want to do is pluck the bass note with your right hand and then pluck third, second and first string. You see that my hand actually doesn't move that much. My fingers just come out one at a time and pluck the string. Obviously I have probably quite a few years of experience, so I can do it even without looking, but this is the idea. So you go back and forth with index, middle, ring and back, and then you will play the next bass note. So in this case it was going to be the C, so on the 5th string. Then you obviously can create different patterns. I can invert, let's say, the top 2 notes and maybe just play a bass note just with 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Then you'll get to a point that you can change the chord on the right hand, and you can change and so on. So that's the basic idea with fingerstyle and the right hand, the posture for the right hand. That's it. Try to be as relaxed as possible. And again, the important things are not anchoring. So don't hold the guitar up. Don't pluck too hard. Don't do that. It has to be nice and even. When I play an arpeggio, especially if I'm recording, it has to be nice and even. So and all the notes have to ring one into the other. And that's pretty much it.